Hello there, and welcome to another edition of the Husker Online Show. We're presented by Underdog Fantasy, and we'll have more on Underdog here later in the show. But thanks to Underdog, the presenting sponsor of the Husker Online Show. But guys, big week now behind us, the opener. We're back from Kansas City. It was kind of one of those weekends that makes you realize why we do this. Like, I mean, there are very few fan bases in the world that would travel at the length Nebraska did. It's 3 hours. I get it. Not that big of a trip, but to fill an NFL stadium and kind of present an opener the way they did. Nebraska gets the win. Now you get home cooking for 40 days, but it's hard not to reflect back on just what we saw in Arrowhead, and that it sounds like Troy Dannon's already talking about going back down there. Makes sense if you were there. Shout out to my friend Kevin, who went with a group of 12 people. And he said that he would almost have to put his hands over his ears. It was so loud. And that struck me because Kevin is he's a 60-something that's been going to games for years and years. And he said it was super loud. It was a great environment. You guys saw it. It was sort of breathtaking, right?
Yeah. And you said it was, 3.5 hours from Lincoln Rome Hub. It took people a lot longer than that.
6 hours.
Yeah, it took us 4.5, and we left pretty early. I know some people, it was almost close to 6, like you said. So the level of commitment to go to that game and the work that was put into going to that game, and for Nebraska to take over that stadium as everyone hoped and expected, just another feather in the cap of one of the greatest fan bases in all of college sports.
I don't know why I had fears of this, because it was a Thursday night, 8:00 game, I guess. But I thought, there'll be kind of blotches of empty upper deck seats.
I never had that fear.
Well, I just didn't know. Like 8:00 Thursday night, it's hard to put it all together, but to fill the stadium, and I guess they didn't technically announce it as a sellout, but it was almost 73,000 was the butts in the seat, and there weren't empty seats.
It was full, and this is a great example of fan base mattering. I mean, I think that. Obviously, Sean pointed it out in your column. The noise got to Cincinnati on third down, four jumps. They jumped 4 times. But more than that, it's more than that to me. What it does is it puts pressure on the program. It does. It's sort of it's hard to quantify that pressure. I don't know how to quantify it, and it's not a bad pressure. When we say pressure, I think people always think negative connotations, layoff, SIP. No, it's not negative pressure. You come to a program, if you're a real baller, you come to a program where there's pressure, and that kind of energy is good. I mean, I think it made a difference. I think it made a tangible difference in the noise, but I think that intangible difference where, hey, this matters.
Oh yeah.
I think that helps push a program forward.
Yeah, I mean, you can have that kind of pressure. You can have the other pressure of apathy, where you're trying to play well enough to get people to come to your games and pay attention to you. That has never been Nebraska's problem. The fan support has always been there, yet again on display in full force on Thursday night. And the cool thing about that one was, for the first time in a long time, fans got rewarded for all their effort. They got to go down there and see a win. Now, it wasn't the prettiest win by any stretch, and certainly a lot to clean up, but they made the big play when it mattered. They sent all of those 70,000 fans home feeling good after a victory. And you go back to how many times we've seen this in Ireland, in Boulder, Colorado, or wherever it is, where we've had these massive invasions only for the product on the field to just send people going home with their head down and almost in shame, taking off their Husker gear on the flight home. Like this was not that. They got the reward finally for that loyal, undying support.
Oregon 2017 was another one of those ones where, like you had 25,000 Nebraska fans and they lost. But yeah, just to see everybody leave, and what makes Nebraska fans what they are is they're smart enough to recognize they won, but this team has a long ways to go.
Yeah. And that's, that consternation conversation is it's usually going to be there, short of just like a 56-10 drubbing. I mean, I go back to the 90s when you guys remember probably Nebraska would beat some downtrodden program, but that downtrodden program would kick a field goal, drive against the black shirts, and kick a 40-yard field goal, and people would be standing around on Monday going, I don't know if Wistrom and Tomich, if these guys are as good as the guys that preceded them.
Why did we shut them out?
Yeah, well, I mean, what was going on with that drive? It's part of it now. But you're right. There are obvious things that sprung up. I say obvious because they're things we talk about throughout the offseason. Lack of running back depth and some vulnerability up front on defense. Same things we talk about all the time. So from that standpoint, I was a little surprised by the reaction of some fans because it's stuff that we anticipated,
And I think too, like there's certain people that I think just didn't respect Cincinnati.
Mm.
And I think looking back on this game, once we get closer to October, November, that's going to look a little different than maybe it did to some people immediately after that game. So I think Cincinnati's a good team. Like Matt Rule said, they're a Power 4 team with $25 million to spend on their roster. And they got some dudes, particularly on the lines. There's a reason why Nebraska had some issues up front in the trenches because Cincinnati's good in the trenches, especially with that defensive line. They got a quarterback in Sorsby that made plays. And we talked about it, John Butler saying it looked like a high school football game. Well, guess what? He was a playmaker who made plays, and they had running backs that, we're a level of physicality that I think some Nebraska fans, especially the ones that were a little maybe critical of that win, didn't quite respect Cincinnati for being as good as I think they'll end up being.
When you come from the NFL like Butler too, you kind of have this NFL mentality, like that QB run game stuff. You just can't do it on Sundays because you'll get your quarterback killed. And
he didn't really respect it.
And I think it is kind of like if you don't have nothing, you run the QB. And we saw that a lot in the Frost era.
Oh yeah,
where they had nothing there, and we
Adrian Martinez
saw it with Jamal Lord,
and we saw it with Heinrich Harburg when he had to start that year. I mean,
his quote, Butler. Oh, this quote is a gem. This is what John Butler said today. Now, he's probably had a couple gems, but this was the one that I got to before I left the facility. He said they came out in the second half, and it looked like Sorsby said to himself, I don't really know what they're doing coverage-wise, so I'm just going to take off and run.
I don't really know what they're
doing.
Well,
hello. Right. Yeah, and maybe that's what it was.
I don't think that game helped Sorsby with the scouts because the plays that he gained yards on, those won't work in the NFL.
He threw for 69 yards,
and
that's all.
Sierra Wright completely locked down his guy, and Donovan Jones played outstanding. Andrew Marshall played a solid game.
Yep.
Malcolm Hartsock bounced back with the play at the end. So you have to leave Kansas City, and we'll get into this more, but the back seven of that defense had their moments.
Mainly the secondary. I think the
Shavers is hit.
Yeah, Shavers is hit. The linebackers, the inside linebackers didn't play particularly well, but they didn't grade well. But the secondary. Now this was new to me. I don't know what you guys would say. I didn't know if I'd come out of there saying looks like the secondary might be the strength of the team.
Mm-hmm. Well, they returned all the starters.
Yeah,
and then they added Marshall.
Yeah, but Singleton didn't get going last year till late because he didn't get healthy till I'm going to say late August.
He had like 3 tackles on the first drive. So
right,
talk about hitting the ground running.
Oh yes, well Singleton will be a different player this year because of what I just
plays
said.
like that. He's getting drafted.
Watson Trent was a mild disappointment. I had higher. I thought his snap count would be higher, and I thought his tackle impact would be higher.
Kind of a non-factor
for a guy that's basically the active leading tackler in college football.
Well, the one thing on that is he didn't practice a lot in the last 2 weeks. I don't know why, just probably an injury, but that's something to watch going forward to see how he progresses.
All right. Well, we have lots to delve into. Let's get into the offense, the plan at running back, the plan at left tackle. There's a lot to chew on here. Next, you're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show presented by Underdog. And look, if you've never tried out Underdog, it is so fun. It is so easy. Download the Underdog Fantasy app on your phone. And it's as easy as picking higher or lower on your favorite stat categories. And they do everything from college to pro. So you can, and Dylan Raiola, his category could be 241 yards passing, higher or lower. And you can pair that up with Emmett Johnson's rushing total, higher or lower. And then you take somebody from the opponent Nebraska's playing, higher or lower. And you can put it all together in different plays. And the more things you pick, the more you win. And we've got a deal with Underdog and Husker Online. We're going to give you 25, or excuse me, we're going to give you $50. Use the promo code Husker25 and you'll get $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. So put in 5, use the promo code Husker25. You'll have $55 to try out Underdog and go in on your favorite action. And you can load up on several different categories, topics. You can cross a college game with a pro game for baseball, whatever the sport is. Again, that's Underdog. Use the promo code Husker25. Must be over 18, over 19 in Alabama and Nebraska, over 19 in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Thanks again, Underdog. All right, guys, let's get into the offensive storylines, headlines. First and foremost, the running back plan. And Matt Rule said it, and Dana Holgorsen also had a similar thought. They got to get more backs going. They cannot live on what they did with Emmett Johnson for 12 weeks. It just is not sustainable to give Emmett Johnson that kind of workload in this conference.
He played 69, Emmett Johnson, 69 of the 78 offensive snaps. Dana Holgorsen said today, which is Tuesday, as far as getting the backups involved, have to. But he was very effusive in his praise of Johnson. Player of the game, he said of Emmett Johnson, and he just said, we're in a rough game. Johnson made the most sense in that setting, but he was very strong in saying we have to get those other guys involved.
Mm-hmm. I guess they said he tried to get Mosey involved early, but it didn't look good.
Didn't look good.
Quote,
yeah.
Didn't look good. So, I don't know if that played into it. They just think those guys are ready for the moment. It's hard to say because they got such minimal workloads, but I think they understand that that's not a sustainable model to lean on one guy that much. I mean, that many snaps, that many touches, that's just not something that's going to hold up over the course of another 11 plus games. So that's what makes these next 2 weeks so critical for this offense. And just running backs at the top of the list, but they got to figure some stuff up. That left tackle rotation, you got to figure out who your guys are. You're not going to play 3 guys every game for an entire season. And, there's some other position groups that you need that depth to get some live game experience under the lights, Memorial Stadium, and, have maybe a little bit more of a foundation of how to evaluate certain position battles, and running backs at the top of that list.
How about the comment about the way Cincinnati tackled, though? The leg tackling, which kind of hampered Ja'Cory Barney throughout the game after he got hit in the leg. And then one of those tackles ended the season of Janiron Bonner, which is a big hit for what he provided. But, you go back to the way Mosey and some of these guys ran early. I thought some of those tackles, the way that Cincinnati just was shooting down at their legs, threw them off a little. I think in general, Nebraska wasn't expecting a team to tackle the way that Cincinnati did, where it really wasn't tackling. They were just shooting for guys' legs. Didn't you listen to Dana say that?
Yeah, Holgorsen made mention of that. I thought Cincinnati's defense was pretty tough.
They were physical, but I think Nebraska didn't care for how they went for guys' legs.
Dana said it's not a criticism of them, but they were, quote, a low tackling bunch, is what he said. Probably as low of a tackling bunch as Dana's seen in quite some time. So maybe he didn't try to make it a criticism, but it was kind of a criticism. He said he got 2 guys hurt, and it changed the way they played offense.
So the
they
guys
didn't have Bonner, and Ja'Cory wasn't Ja'Cory.
Yeah, the guys we're talking about at running back are Mekhi Nelson, Quentin Ives, and Mosey. It was very illuminating to me that he said that about Mosey. I get so uncomfortable around here when we do this thing. We crown these young guys. I mean, it's like whenever we talk about Mosey, I'd be like, man, it's not going to be playing a high school game in Arrowhead. You're playing dudes now. And so I will not assume these young guys are ready. I just don't do it. They have to show it. And that was a great example. Will Mosey be ready for Michigan? I mean, you know what he's going to see at Michigan is like a pro defense. I mean,
grown men.
It's hard for. I'm not criticizing Mosey. It's just hard for a young guy to come in that.
Even Cortez Mills. I mean,
right.
He fell down on what could have been a big play for him. And Dana did say that we got guys falling down, and there were only 6 guys that made people miss tackles.
Right.
Which is an alarming number because they had guys in space, but they weren't making people miss.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why Nebraska had 18 third down plays in this game.
18's a lot of third downs. No, that was one of the things that Holgerson emphasized today. They have to have more big plays going forward, and keeping your legs is something that coaches in a lot of sports just say, stay on your feet. It used to drive me nuts, by the way, as a former athlete, when I'd see guys on the ground. Get up. Why are you on the ground? Yeah. Don't be on the ground.
You know who did that as well as anyone? Emmett Johnson. That's why he played so much.
He stays on his feet.
I mean, how many times did he almost get knocked over and he's like somehow like doing some sort of balancing act to stay on there? So like that's a big part of this, but you know, it's a credit to Cincinnati too. They defended Nebraska in a very unique way with 3 high safeties, and then they tackled well and they controlled the line of scrimmage on defense. That made everything hard. Right. And so, you know, you hope that this isn't the blueprint for how you stop Nebraska, because Nebraska got to figure that out very quickly if it is. But I think that different defensive looks will provide more opportunities to stretch the field and let those playmakers on the perimeter do more things, and that should open up everything in the middle of the offense. So, you know, you hope that this was just kind of a unique first look, but you know, they can't let that happen again, because then the book will very much be out.
You're listening here to the Husker Online show. And now for Nebraska, I think being at home for over 40 days, they've got a lot of time in the kitchen here to kind of figure this out. You know, get the crowd. They're going to have the comfort of the crowd. The communication is going to be perfect. They've got to take advantage of this.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like you said, guys, both of you, you got to get the left tackle thing settled. Now you're going to see some kind of newish guys like Carter Nelson. Carter Nelson was a topic of discussion today because of Janiron Bonner's injury. That might push Carter Nelson along a little more. We heard today for the first time that he didn't have a great camp. That double labrum hip surgery it slowed him in camp. They had him on a pitch count. Dana said in week 3, he had dead legs, but now he's coming out of it at a good time because with Bonner's injury, they need him. It'll be interesting to watch that, because he is a guy, guys, that could give you an explosive play.
Yeah, Dana said, he's like, this is the first time I see what Carter is now. Like, he just heard about him, how good of a player he was, but from his experience, he's never seen a healthy Carter Nelson.
Right.
And so now he's finally 6 months later starting to play like the player Nebraska's been banking on for a long time. And so, you know, you hate to see a guy like Bonner go down, because he does so much. He plays like 5 positions on offense, and he's the most physical blocker on the perimeter, like all those things. There's not one guy, Carter Nelson or anyone else, that's going to replicate everything Bonner did. But when it comes to being that versatile threat that you can line up, you know, in the slot and do different things to create mismatches, Carter Nelson has as big of a window of opportunity than anybody on that offense.
You got to learn the game, though. He played 8-man football.
It's part of it,
and didn't really do these things. So easier said than done, in my opinion, with Carter. Like, he's got to get reps and learn the game of football at the 11-man level and in a new position now at tight end.
But he's had nothing but a year to study because he's been hurt. So, like, you know, I think that he should be fairly caught up from that regard.
You're right, though, Sean.
Game experience.
They got a game in against a power conference team. Got to win. Now you kind of got to go to work.
Get in the kitchen and start cooking.
Yeah, and get some things worked out. They need to do it. We'll cover the defense in a second. But, I mean, I don't know. I just worry still a little bit about running back. I got to see one of those guys be helpful, be reliable behind Emmett. I mean, not just adequate. It'd be nice to see like Mekhi Nelson get in the game and crack one open, you know, go 60 yards.
Explosive plays.
Yeah, explosion. Right. He's got some speed. That would be nice to see.
All right, when we come back, we'll shift the discussion to defense and kind of where the black shirts turn to next. Listen here to the Husker Online show. And we're back here on the Husker Online show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washett. Segment brought to you by Crani-Yum. Fuels us, guys. It gets us through, as both Robin and Sip are on their Crani-Yums right now.
I can't tell you how important it is.
For the focus level, too.
For everything.
But made by 2 lifelong Nebraskans. They're based in Fremont, and the popularity of their drink is blowing up. They are getting orders among orders. You're finding it in more and more stores around the region. Obviously, a lot of different Hy-Vee Health Markets carry it, as well as different supplement stores. If you're not familiar, it is sugar-free. It has nootropics for mental clarity. Caffeine is 150 milligrams. It's all natural, no sugar, no artificial colors. It is an excellent drink. We have all 4 flavors. They have a 5th flavor now. I believe there's a watermelon flavor.
Ooh,
Hello.
need some of those.
I feel, and this is no exaggeration, when I came in here hurting, I feel 30% better than I did an hour ago.
That's solid.
Yeah, it does the trick. And we've got a promo with Husker Online. Go to their website. That's Crani-Yum. It's Y-U-M to end. DrinkCrani-Yum.com. That's DrinkCrani-Yum.com. Use the promo code Husker Online. You'll get 10% off your order. It's already free shipping. So you can save yourself a trip to a store. You're going to get the best price with free shipping at DrinkCrani-Yum.com. 10% off, promo code Husker Online. Thanks to Crani-Yum for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online show. But let's get into defensive discussion. And we got to start with the interior defensive line. And Robin, you did the grade out on the D line, and it didn't take a rocket scientist, but Nebraska didn't get very good play at times from the teeth of that defense, which we knew was going to be probably what Cincinnati went at right away.
Yeah, and they challenged it, right up early and often. And again, they rushed for 200 yards. Half of that came off QB runs, and I think John Butler said when he went back, they counted like 90 off scrambles. So a lot of the rushing production was off broken plays, but at the same time, they had trouble with the running backs. I think the running backs they all averaged over 5 yards per carry.
Well over.
And then they had, issues just getting off the field. They didn't have very many explosive backfield plays where they were creating pressure. I don't think they hit Sorsby once. They had a couple hurries, but I think they have 9 pressures and 0 hits. So all 9 pressures were just hurries.
No sacks.
Yeah. So, they were getting in the backfield, but they weren't doing much. And so it wasn't just about stopping the run, but the pass rush left a lot to be desired in that way too. But, I guess I just don't know from a depth chart perspective what more they can do. There's arguments about playing Riley Van Poppel more, play Jalen George more, maybe Elijah Judy, who had 32 snaps compared to 20 and 18 from those other guys respectively, a little less. But I think what it comes down to is they need guys to just step up, start making some plays.
Okay. First of all, now one thing I'd say if I was like Riley Van Poppel sitting here, I'd say, guys, they got 271 yards and 17 points. We did something right. Right.
Not the rushing yards per carry average, though.
No, you're right. And I thought Rule and Butler sort of played that down a little, maybe too much. Tawee Walker rushed 7 times for 53. That's 7.6. That's their running back. One of them. Evan Pryor rushed 5 times for 29 yards. That's 5.8. Their running backs were getting stuff done. But on the same, you got to balance it. Butler's right. A lot of it was just Sorsby taking off. Sorsby not being able to read their coverage correctly and just saying, I'm going to take off. Butler giving himself a little pat on the back there as a secondary coach.
High school football offense, is that what he called it?
Yes, he did. But they're right, and they're not going to see that kind of offense. What Rule said, they faced, Sean, the holy grail, which was a running quarterback that runs outside zone and tempo. He said you're not seeing that in the Big Ten. I don't know who. Somebody probably does all 3, but not many teams do.
Yeah, that was a veteran team in terms of their starters, and that offensive line was solid for Cincinnati.
I think it was. They had 3 new starters. They looked pretty good to me. Time will tell on that, right? I told you guys we had one Big 12 head coach who said, "Be careful playing down that win by Nebraska because that Cincinnati's better than you think." I thought they looked good. You still hear some people out there saying they didn't beat anybody, Sip. I don't know. I thought just just what I saw, I thought they looked pretty good. Am I wrong?
Yeah, and just in terms of the level of physicality, you can say what you want about what they are and aren't, but they are a big physical team. They've got 2 Big Ten running backs. They've got a quarterback in Sorsby that was being scouted by multiple NFL personnel at the game. Matt Rule, they were asking Matt Rule about Sorsby before the game. So, they've got talent. They revamped their wide receiver unit too with a bunch of transfers. So I think that the skill level of Cincinnati's offense is better than people maybe wanted to give it credit for. But that being said, you still wanted to see a little bit more, I think, out of that defensive line. Like it held up okay I guess. They won the game and they didn't give up that many yards, but there was just no explosive. We talk about explosive plays on offense. There was no game-changing plays from that D-line whatsoever.
I thought, though, Nwaneri left at least a really optimistic picture moving forward for really his first full game of college football, because he did a 4-game redshirt last year where he played limited spot snaps at Missouri. For his very first game, I thought he flashed to the point that you would have hoped, where you're like, okay, there's something there. And then obviously there should be. He was a 5-star. And he played at a really high level getting to the quarterback.
He did 38 snaps, as you guys do a great job, and we should tout it a little bit more right after the games the next day. Both of you do the Pro Football Focus grades. Sean does the offense, Rob does the defense, and God, it's valuable. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you would have said on August 1, Williams Nwaneri will play 38 snaps, just that alone, you'd say, okay, that's good. That's a good sign.
Tied for the most of any defensive line with Cam Lenhart.
See, that's a good sign. Now, Sean, the one thing, though, he got pushed around the run game a little bit. I think that was didn't you see that?
Well, they lost edge containment. I think you saw guys trying to go for the home run versus maybe staying home.
And I'm not saying that was a big problem, because I'm not.
The reverse
trained
play
that way,
was a play where they did that reverse, and that was McGahee.
Yeah, they got him out.
He was 20 yards inside when the reverse came around.
Yeah, and they got him out of there. But that was definitely encouraged. I would say Nwaneri was encouraged.
Yeah, he was as productive as maybe any defensive lineman on the roster. I mean, he played tied for the most snaps. He had 3 of Nebraska's 9 hurries. He had the highest overall defensive grade, and which was the highest of the defensive line and the 4th highest of anybody on the team. And he had 5 tackles, including a stop. So, I mean, he did a little bit of everything, but you're right. At times there were some outside contain issues. And I think a lot of that, it's not just him. I think maybe my biggest concern about Nebraska's defensive line is just how small they looked against Cincinnati's offensive line. They looked undersized.
Yeah, Rules,
and we saw that play out.
Yeah, Rules mentioned it. I mean, he doesn't highlight it. He's just mentioned it. Mentions that we're small up front. They are.
Compared to last year, especially.
Vincent Shavers played just 29 snaps, and as Robin noted, the highest graded out player. They've got him at a 90.3 overall. So the little he played at 29 snaps, he was as impactful as anybody for Nebraska.
Well, he made the biggest play of the game.
Changed the game.
Yeah, except for the interception. I mean, those 2 defensive plays, his hit that caused the fumble right before halftime that led to a touchdown and a 13-3 lead was gargantuan. Then Malcolm Hartzog's interception, of course, to close the game. And I would say the 3rd biggest play was the play call that Dana made to get the ball to Key to make it 13-3. So, yeah, Shavers was good. We established that Marquise Watson-Trent probably wasn't what we hoped in the first game. Javin Wright, I think, he grade pretty well.
No, 54 overall.
Okay, he didn't grade that well. Now we got to point something out about Javin Wright, though. That's his 4th start in 7 years, so he's not necessarily used to starting. You just hope that you hope that inside backer picture looks a little bit better going forward.
Your lowest graded out defensive starters were Marquise Watson-Trent, Javin Wright, and Elijah Judy. And Elijah Judy was by far the lowest graded starter in the game for Nebraska. Played 32 snaps and was not involved in a play, a sack, a hurry, a hit, a tackle, or anything.
The secondary, excellent. Wow.
Yeah, that's the highest grade. So after Shavers, the next 4 highest graded people were Buford, Marshall, Hartzog, Wright.
Yeah,
then Singleton was a couple down below that. So that secondary, and Donovan Jones right there. So of the top 10 players, 6 of the top 10 were in the secondary.
Yeah, and they just played well.
Yeah, they tackled well, they covered well, and pretty much did everything that you would want of them.
All right, when we come back, Abby Barmore is back from Nashville. She joined us in Kansas City, was able to take on Broadway Street. She'll join us here next as we take your questions in the mailbag. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. We're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washett, Abby Barmore joining us back from Nashville. Before we get to that, this segment brought to you by one of our great sponsors, Ridge. If you've never tried Ridge, they make great products like amazing wallets, luggage, premium everyday gear. But right now, they also have some great specials and promotions going on. They've got 2 lucky winners that can choose between a $280,000 Lamborghini, a $100,000 Raptor truck, or $100,000 in cash. Would you take the Lamborghini, the truck? I know it's simple. Take the truck or the cash?
Cash. I'm taking cash.
You're taking the cash.
I don't need to pay insurance on it.
Yeah, I ain't messing with that insurance.
You're taking the cash. Well, that 100,000 gets cut down to about 60.
Still taking it.
You're still taking the cash.
But
I
got a truck.
They've got a great promo going on right now. Just upgrade your wallet. Visit the website, ridge.com. Use the promo code Husker. You'll get 10% off your order and a chance to win Ridge's biggest sweepstakes ever. You can win the Lamborghini, the Velociraptor truck, or $100,000 in cash. No purchase necessary to enter, but every dollar you spend gets you more entries. That's ridge.com, and use promo code Husker after your purchase. They will ask you where you heard about them. Please make sure to support our show and tell them that Husker Online sent you. Okay, let's bring in the traveler, Abby Barmore, back from Nashville. Did you have a great time in Nashville, and was it just full of Husker fans everywhere?
Yeah, Nashville was awesome, and it was packed. There was a lot of red. Actually, when my cab driver to the airport, he's like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Nebraska. My gosh, I have driven so many people from Nebraska this weekend.
Wow.
What is going on?
Wow.
So yeah, there was a lot of red around and a lot of
12,000.
Yeah, the attendance was 11,000.
Okay.
So.
And is this a deal where Nebraska could play almost annually in this Nashville deal, or is this kind of like every other year thing?
Well, this is actually the first year of this event. Some events, like the first serve, they try to set a mark where it's like you can only play twice in a 4-year period just because they want different kinds of teams. But I think if you're smart, you try to get Nebraska to play in as many things as you want to, because the people will show up, in person or watching on their televisions.
All right. Well, great weekend. Huskers 4-0, unanimous #1 team. Let's get to the mailbag. Where are we starting?
Okay, first one. Who is one player on both sides of the ball that you want to see get more snaps for Akron?
I think running back Mekhi Nelson intrigues me, and I would like to see Elijah Pritchett take on more than what we saw.
Okay, why?
Because I think he's got the highest ceiling and projection and upside. And even despite the sack he gave up and despite the false start, he was still the highest graded out lineman.
Yeah, pick a running back, and then I'm going to go Carter Nelson. I mean, with all this talk about how you're going to place Bonner, I mean, from a receiving standpoint, he's got as high of a ceiling as anybody that fits that kind of mold as there is on the roster. And, you got multiple coaches talking about him and what, he could be now that he's finally healthy. Let's get him involved. We've been waiting a year plus to see what Carter Nelson as a go-to target in Nebraska's passing game looks like. Now's the time.
Great one. I'm going to go Ives. Remember, there was once upon a time, Quentin Ives was the defined #2 running back. In the spring, he was #2. They talked about him as #2. Now, hurts his hamstring on the first day of preseason camp, slides back to #4. But they need guys back there, and I want to see him. That big hoss. Now he's about 6'2". What? Oh, you gotta say 225. About. Oh, here I got the damn depth chart right here.
He's 6'3".
6'3", 215. Long, lean, angular runner. Get behind your pads and do some damage. You gotta. I mean, if I was one of those guys, I'd just be thinking, I gotta help the team. I gotta help this team. We're a pretty good team, but we can't do it with just Emmett.
On defense, real quick, Vincent Shavers, 29 snaps. I'd like to see that ramped up.
Okay.
10, 15 more.
Yeah, and that's another guy, Sean, that was, remember, he had a hamstring in camp and missed a lot. And I think you'll see, what you'll see is him get more and more comfortable and establish himself more.
All right, Abby, what's next?
Do we have more defensive players? We only got one guy.
One late submission, Cade Petschok.
Okay,
good call. I like that.
He played one snap. We're talking about defensive line need and depth. How about that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Give him some shots here.
Good one. Okay.
Great one.
So with Bonner going down, which players can step into his role? We mentioned Carter Nelson a lot, but who
Quinn
else?
Clark. I mean, you already saw Quinn Clark get on the field in this game and had a catch, and I think that was in the role. But Quinn Clark played 11 snaps in that game. I'd imagine that number is going to start to go up.
And Matt Rule mentions that beyond Carter Nelson, that tight end conversation, that he felt good about all those other three guys. Maybe that's just lip service, but maybe now with Bonner out of the mix, a guy like Caden Echternock or Eric Ingwerson or Danny King can maybe get some reps and show what they can do. Because remember, it wasn't too long ago, Luke Lindenmeyer was an afterthought. Now he's like the number one go-to guy they have in that room. So opportunity can sometimes create, some guys emerging into that rotation that you wouldn't think of.
The only thing I'd add, Abby, is that Dana Holgerson said Tuesday, it's not going to be just one guy that replaces those snaps. Bonner was really valuable and really versatile.
All right, what do you got next?
Okay. Which Husker surprised you in the Cincinnati game, if any?
Surprise.
I mean, Lindenmeyer, I think just the final stat line. Look, he had basically his career body of work in one game. I mean, that should get your attention.
5 catches last year, 5 in this game.
Yeah, and his target number was basically like what he had targeted all of last year. So the fact that Holgerson can do that with him in one game, that was a surprise. I mean, that's impressive.
Nwaneri playing as much as he did was surprising. I mean, it shouldn't be, just considering his profile, but for him to come in and play as many snaps as anybody on that D-line was certainly notable. And on the other side of the ball, go Teddy Prohaska. I mean, the fact that there was just some debate on who that right tackle was going to be, he played every snap, and he was the constant at that position. And for a guy that has missed so much time over the course of his career, what a great story to see him play a full game and actually, make it out of it unscathed. Hope that continues.
Sierra Wright, I didn't envision, and we don't see, we won't see practice. But remember, I was told that maybe the best player on defense is Sierra Wright. Okay, I didn't see it coming. When I was told, I was like, really? Sierra Wright is the best player on defense. Then what happens in the game? 48 snaps. Was he targeted one time? They weren't even throwing at him. Sierra Wright has emerged as maybe the best player on the defense. Sean, would you have seen that coming 3 months ago?
Well, considering he wasn't even a starter last year at the beginning of the year, he didn't really get his opportunity until Tommy Hill got hurt.
He played so well that people were wondering, like, what happened to him, after the game. Remember that people like, what happened to Sierra Wright? He's like, he's just shutting down half the field. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, on our podcast, on our post game show, that person thought he didn't play.
Yeah.
Oh, he played.
He played quite a bit.
He just took his man out of the game. All right, Abby. Final question. What do you got?
What are your top unique venues you've watched Nebraska play at?
Can't be Dublin. I mean,
Can
Ireland.
Yeah.
You
like that?
Going down to Kansas City. I loved it. I hope they go back there.
Yankee Stadium, guys.
Yeah,
I mean, that I don't think I ever would have envisioned in my life being Yankee Stadium, doing our post-game show in the WFAN booth, sitting in the seat of John Sterling.
We've been to just amazing places. So Abby, it's really difficult. I mean, especially someone who's covered it for 30 years and been to all the road games. It's really difficult. I'll tell you the one that I have to put up there, those Washington, that stadium on the lake and how loud it is and how steep it is. That's an incredible stadium.
Little boat tailgate party that's off the water.
Oregon was pretty unique.
Oregon's definitely, see, that's a good example of one that you might not pick. But I'll tell you what, Arrowhead's way up there. That Arrowhead was, I said breathtaking. It was breathtaking.
Best tailgating scene I've ever seen for a Nebraska game.
Yes.
Hands down,
100%.
100%. Better tailgating than a home game.
I mean, Arrowhead's top 3 for me because of the in-stadium, which is breathtaking. Okay, I've said breathtaking 4 times. But it was. And the tailgating is a freak show. Like, wow.
Yeah, it was a setup like any fan would. It's just not realistic. Like Memorial Stadium doesn't have like empty parking lots like that.
Just cement.
I mean, they could fit about 20,000 cars at Arrowhead.
Fans made them open up the lots a half hour early because they were blocking traffic on the interstate to get in because Nebraska fans were lined up waiting to access the parking.
What a day.
It says everything you need to know.
Yeah, and then just the access, like, the park for $100, you could literally park feet away from the stadium gate. Or $50, you could park a mile away. And for me, it was my family. We paid the extra, and it was well worth it.
Yeah, you were out there.
I mean, we were like steps. It was our row, then a handicap row, and then the stadium was right there.
Nice.
And, so for my family and the people they were with, it was awesome for them because you can't do that at Memorial Stadium.
Nope.
You just can't. I mean, you got to be a long time, well-heeled booster.
Arrowhead. Nice work.
Anytime I can slide in the well-heeled.
Sounds,
well-heeled.
sounds like we'll be heading back there sooner than later, maybe.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Troy Dannon hinted that, so we'll see if that could happen. And
be great.
I hit Q39 twice, by the way. Did you guys?
Jeez.
Lunch on Thursday, dinner on Saturday.
Our schedule was a little more chaotic. We
just went in and out.
Yeah, it was
a work trip now.
It was a business trip.
And I didn't work.
You worked. Yeah, no, I didn't say you didn't.
I just slept.
Wow.
Got some sleep. All right, Abby. Well, good to have you back.
I'm very glad to be back.
All right.
Good, Abby.
When we come back, we'll close the show with what happened in the Big Ten in week 1 and look ahead to week 2. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. Final segment here of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washut were brought to you in this segment by Chubbies. And if you've never tried out Chubbies, just tons of fun, comfortable leisure wear. Get your favorite NFL team gear as well. And we all have got our different NFL team gear ready for the weekend. Robin got his New York Giants shirt that I believe is going to wear to the fantasy draft.
Yep. I wore it to my big dynasty fantasy draft. You can see the little print right there. And it was the talk of the draft. All my buddies were jealous. And I said, hey, man, head over to Chubbies. Get yourself some boisterous NFL gear. Because that's how I would describe
Sipple
it.
got his Raiders shirt. I got my Chiefs gear. But lots of other great items besides the NFL gear on Chubbies. And if you have never tried Chubbies shorts or Chubbies at all, go to their website. It's chubbiesshorts.com/Husker. Use the promo code Husker. And you'll get $10 off your order with the promo code Husker. Again, that includes the NFL collection as well. So visit the website, chubbiesshorts.com. That's CHUBBIES shorts.com/Husker. Promo code Husker. You'll get $10 off your order. Thanks again to Chubbies for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. But let's get into the games this week. A full slate of games. Big Ten goes 16-2 in week 1. I'm just going to go through the notable ones. Tulane hammered Northwestern in New Orleans 23-3. I guess if you're a Nebraska fan, that's a good sign because Northwestern comes to Lincoln, and that definitely you don't want to ever count wins. That looks like a very favorable game for Nebraska down the road. Mm-hmm. The biggest game of the weekend, though, in the Big Ten, Ohio State beats Texas 14-7. They really made Arch Manning a non-factor, and it was kind of a joust back and forth, but Ohio State made the key plays to win that game. Indiana didn't look great against Old Dominion, 27-14 winners. Chubba Purdy started for Nevada. Penn State beat Nevada 46-11. Other than that, I think it's notable. Iowa, we saw the first Mark Gronowski look, 44 yards passing and a 34-7 win over Albany. USC put up 73 points on Missouri State in a 73-13 win. Washington beat Colorado State 38-21. Michigan over New Mexico. Bryce Underwood's debut goes for 251, 34-17. How about Utah hammering UCLA in the Rose Bowl? Does not look good right now. 43-10 winners on national television on Fox in the late game. But other than that, not a lot of surprises. Rutgers eked out Ohio, the defending MAC champions, 34-31. Wisconsin only put up 17 points on Miami of Ohio. Minnesota only 23 points on Buffalo.
UCLA, I mean, there's obviously the Ohio State wins the biggest one. On the other end of the spectrum, UCLA is, you got to watch this close now. They went 35,000 people in the Rose Bowl. Okay, now think about that for a second. That's second-year coach. All he could, with Nico.
In an opener.
Nico in an opener. And all you can draw is 35,000 people. And then they got hammered. 43-10, as Sean mentioned. And I read a column by Bill Platsky, the famous Bill Platsky of the LA Times, and he skewered Foster. I mean, he said, still waiting for it to get better, getting uglier, seriously worried. And he pointed out that crowd. And he also pointed out that Deshaun Foster recently installed a litany of new media restrictions that basically prohibited journalists from getting a close look at the program. I just don't think it's going well. I mean, they got – yeah, that's good news for Nebraska. The bad news is USC. I watched that game against Missouri State. They're different now. They look way better on defense. Now, Missouri State's not very good.
They were 36.5-point favorites.
Right, but they are big up front now.
They
USC
added some bodies.
Yeah, USC solved that problem where they were kind of smallish up front. Not now.
How about Ohio State, though? I mean, going in, beating number 1 ranked Texas, and I still don't know why Texas was ranked number 1 to start the year. I didn't really get that from the start, mainly because Ohio State lost their quarterback, but you could have argued Ohio State could have stayed number 1.
You could argue Penn State's number 1.
Yeah, there's a lot, but Texas to me didn't deserve the preseason number 1 ranking. I think a lot of it's Arch Manning and didn't have a great debut.
No, and he was. Go ahead, Rob.
I mean, they're a good team. Like, let's not act like Texas is like not in that conversation, because they are, especially like going into the horseshoe on that stage. Like, that's tough for anybody, let alone a young quarterback playing his first real big game. And they only lost by a touchdown to the defending national champs. So, like, I think Texas will be fine in the grand scheme of things, but that's a statement win for Ohio State. I think they proved a lot of doubters wrong about whether they're going to be able to reload, and yeah, they reload, and they're going to be a beast once again.
All right, a full slate of games again this weekend. I'm just going to go through the key ones of note here. Illinois at Duke.
Okay.
Illinois just a 3-point favorite. That's an 11 a.m.
It's good one.
ESPN Pam Ward special there. You'll get Iowa at Iowa State in that 11 a.m. big noon window.
Ooh, gigantic game.
Hawkeye's a 3-point dog. I'm going to pick the Hawkeyes.
I'm picking Iowa.
They just when you count them out, they figure it out.
Yeah.
And they ran for 300 yards last week, so that was good for them.
Big horse.
Ohio State's playing Grambling. Mickey Joseph gets to go in the shoe, baby.
That's a hard ask.
Hey,
I don't want to blow up Ohio State too much. So they had about 200 yards of total offense. Okay, I mean, they didn't knock it out of the park in that game
again, because Texas is a really good defense.
They are.
How about this one? The Mullet, Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy. They go into Oregon. They're 28.5-point dogs. When is the last time an Omaha native, Gretna native, Zane Flores, should be the starter, I believe, for that game.
Gundy and Lanning going at it too. It's verbal joust. Gundy saying, they got all the money. It's a little different. It's a different kind of game that they play than some of the rest of us.
Yeah, but Oklahoma State was the original money people. T-Boone Pickens. I mean, they had the oil guy before everybody else did.
Kind of, yeah.
Remember when you went to Stillwater when that stadium was new?
It was like a casino. The bathrooms were strange. It's like you walked into a casino bathroom. There was marble and brass. I'm like, where am I right now?
Especially from where it was before T-Boone stepped in. That thing was a junky high school stadium.
Yeah, it was. It
was terrible.
Yeah, it was like one of those metal, you walk it. Yeah, it did look like that. Okay, keep going, Sean.
All right, a lot of other games here. This one is interesting only in the sense that Georgia Southern goes into USC with Clay Helton as the coach.
That's interesting.
So, I mean, that angle alone,
that's interesting.
It gets my attention because it means something. But how about Boston College at Michigan State? Sparty is a 3.5-point dog. That's gonna be a tough game. I can see Boston College winning that game.
Boston College is the favorite.
The dog.
Oh, the dog.
3.5.
Okay.
But then probably the biggest game in the conference and maybe of the weekend is Michigan, Bryce Underwood on the road at Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Oklahoma's a 5.5-point favorite. That's the ABC Herb Street Fowler night game.
Big one. Oklahoma looked good. Now I'm starting to hear people talk about it's John Mateer and Arbuckle. They came from Washington State, both of them. Arbuckle's the play caller. Mateer's the quarterback. Now you're already hearing a few people saying they look like a playoff team, Oklahoma. That's jumping the gun. I mean, but I don't know. They must have looked really good in their opener.
Now, another late game, Robin, that what we talked about this earlier, UCLA goes to UNLV.
Ooh.
They're only 2.5-point favorites.
Ooh. And so if Sean Foster starts 0-2 in the non-conference.
Right.
With a loss to UNLV.
Yeah.
You wonder if they have regrets about not hiring Tony White. Because that was arguably the runner-up for that job.
He had a pretty strong debut, didn't he?
He really did for FSU. That defense looked really good. Ooh, Sean. Yeah. He'd be light on experience too.
Yeah, it's a matter of what are they going to go for? Are they going to try to hire like the Bill Belichick? But I don't think they got the money to do that.
Right. I mean, it's a little bit hindsight, this discussion, but keep in mind they Chip Kelly was the coach before Deshaun Foster. They went from Chip Kelly to Deshaun Foster. Martin Jarmon's is the UCLA's AD. It's going to be hard for him to sell this to the fan base, and apparently they're not buying it by that crowd. 35,000. Come on,
how
man.
motivates Nico to keep playing?
Well, I don't know.
Like over the course of the year, if they're really struggling.
God, Nico just looks like a horrible decision right now. Now we're burying UCLA a little early. I am anyway.
43-10 at home.
Well, they got a foot in the grave right now. They better not put 2 feet in with a lost UNLV.
Right.
And the UNLV coach is help me the old Florida coach.
Dan Mullen.
Dan Mullen.
Dan Mullen, yes.
Who are you taking in that coaching advantage game there?
Well,
Deshaun Foster or Dan Mullen?
Yeah, I'm taking Dan Mullen. I am. I can't argue with you on that. But UNLV against a like an FCS team squeaked out its open.
Idaho State.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Who's one of the worst teams I've ever seen play in Nebraska, along with Bethune-Cookman.
Right. That kind of raised red flags. So, hey, but I'll tell you what, we've talked about UCLA way too much on this podcast, but that's a game to watch pretty close.
All right. Well, lots to cover. And again, we'll be back with our post-game show. Another night game means we'll be on late. So join us on the HuskerOnline channel after the game. Game will end around 10 o'clock. And, we're hoping to be on between 11:30 and midnight probably is our goal for post-game live. If you're not a member of HuskerOnline, make sure you check it out and get your first week for $1 at HuskerOnline.com to get all of our great post-game coverage and more throughout the week. For Abby Barmore, Steve Sipple, Robin Washett, I'm Sean Callahan.